In this video, I'll be sharing with you the second part of the summary of Good to Great book. And the first concept under disciplined thought is confront brutal fact. Good to Great companies display two forms of disciplined thoughts. They first infuse the entire process of the company with brutal facts, and they develop a simple frame of reference for all the decisions and actions. All Good to Great companies begin the process of transformation to greatness by confronting the brutal fact of their current realities. Some actually go all the way to do drastic changes and rebuild the entire system or the entire business if needed be, to confront the brutal facts heads on. The success of good to great companies normally come about from a number of good decisions, and one wouldn't be able to do a good to take a good decision without having all the facts and realities of the situation they are facing. When companies start the process, Colin highlighted that when companies start the process of transformation by with the determination to know the truth of the situation, the right decision normally comes in along. However, in most companies, managers and executives wouldn't reveal the truth of the situation until they know how the CEO feels. In the good to great companies, however, people, they are more concerned about the situation of their company, and not how the CEO feels. The primary task in making the transition is to create a culture where the truth is revealed and heard. In the good to great companies, motivating people to face the brutal fact is not an issue, because if you have the right people on board anyway, they will be self-motivated to do what it takes to succeed. The real concern here is to manage in such a way not to demotivate people by either holding them from saying the truth or giving them false hopes. So how to create a climate where truth is heard? First, if you have the right people on board, you just only have to lead with a question, not the answer. So and people have to help you to collect all the information and facts and realities of this situation. Second, engage and promote dialogues and debates and open discussion, and keep holding these debates and casual meetings until something come out of them, and play the role of the moderator. Third, talk about issues and problems, but without facing or without pointing fingers and blaming people, and most importantly, build a mechanism and a way, internal mechanism and a way to promote revealing information and hearing the truth. Companies, good to great companies, normally they face challenges as comparison companies. However, they respond to these challenges differently. They hit reality's heights on, they exit businesses, start new business if needed be, and they change direction and strategies dramatically and do all it takes to succeed. As a result, they emerge even more stronger. The good to great managers often respond with a powerful psychological duality to brutal facts. On one hand, they retain the absolute faith that they will succeed in the end, regardless of any difficulty. And on the other hand, they do what it takes to confront the brutal fact and to succeed at the end. The second concept under the disciplined thought is the hedgehog concept. In facing the brutal fact, Colin differentiated the good to great companies from the comparison companies by following a simple concept or a frame of reference for all their decisions and action. What he called the hedgehog concept. The analogy of the hedgehog concept came from comparing a hedgehog and a fox reaction to the world. On one hand, hedgehogs simplify a complex world and face and reduce all challenges by following a simple act, by just crawling into a protective ball. And this normally works as a response of any attack. On the other hand, a fox sees the world on all its complexities and chase many ends at the same time. They get as a result they are scattered and they move in many levels. Those who built good to great companies were like hedgehogs. They take a complex world and they simplify it. And once they understand the concept, they just move straight ahead and comply with their all business aspects. On the other hand, comparison companies, they are like foxes. They never gain clarity and simplicity of the hedgehog concept, and instead they are scattered and inconsistent. The hedgehog concept is not a strategy or a goal, but is an understanding, a business understanding. It was found that strategy per se did not distinguish the good to great companies from the comparison companies, but using a simple concept as a frame of reference for all decision did. The strategic differences between the good to great and the comparison companies lay in 2 points. First, a strategy built on understanding along 3 key dimensions. Second, translate that understanding into a simple concept that guided all efforts on all business aspects. The hedgehog concept is a simple concept that flows from understanding the intersection of the following. First, what you can be good at, or the best thing that you can be good at the world. Second, what drives your economic engine. Third, what you are deeply passionate about. So understanding what you can and what you cannot be best at. Good to great companies were found to take a good and deep look at what they are doing, and they decide to focus entirely on those few things that they are best at doing. Good to great leaders let their abilities and not their egos determine what they do. They focus on what they can do better than others, and they disregard what they can't be better than others. So even if they have to get rid of the core businesses, Colin highlighted that core businesses are not necessarily what you can be best at. Doing it for years does not mean that you can be best at it. To go from good to great requires the transcending from the curse of the competencies, as Colin explained, and the discipline to say just because we are good at it doesn't mean that we can be best at doing it. Second, what drives your economic engine? It was found that companies does not have to be in a great industry to become great. Good to great companies built a strong economic engine regardless of their industries, because they gained a deep insight into their economies. The good to great companies gained a deep understanding of the key drivers of their industry and their economic engines, and built a system according with this understanding. Good to great companies further attained one particular form of economic insight, which is the single economic denominator, which is actually varies between one company to another. In one company could be the profit per region, for example. In another company could be the profit per customer, and they take this single economic denominator and make it as a driver of all their economic decisions and actions. Companies do not have to have a denominator, a single denominator though, but pushing for one was found to produce a better result. Good to great companies, however, managed to discover this key economic denominator, while comparison companies didn't. Third, understanding your passion. Most companies, most good to great companies and management had a tremendous passion for their business. They were passionate of customer of their own product. This passion, however, does not have to be always about the product or the business itself, but it could be equally focused on what the company stands for and the cause of the company. The first concept under discipline action stage is a culture of discipline. Few successful startups managed to become great mainly because they responded to the growth in a wrong way by introducing bureaucratic rules and processes which ended up killing the entrepreneurship and what comes with it from creativity and bold moves. The purpose of the bureaucratic rules is to compensate of the lack of discipline of people, a problem which could go away if you you have the right people from the start, because it was found that most companies that build bureaucratic rules was to manage the small percentage of the wrong people on the bus. To avoid the bureaucracy and hierarchy, companies should create a culture of discipline at the start. It was found that good, great companies invented mechanisms that drive culture of discipline. They gave people freedom to determine paths to achieving their own objectives, but on the other hand, people had to fully commit to the system. So they give people freedom within a framework. They built culture full of disciplined people who took disciplined actions within 3 circles, fanatically consistent with the Hitchcock concept. In other words, they built a culture around the freedom within a framework. They fill that culture with disciplined people who are willing to take extra length to fulfill the responsibility. They didn't confuse the culture of discipline with tyrannical disciplinarians. They fully adhere to the Hitchcock concept. So good to great companies first in building their culture of discipline, they gave freedom within a framework. Good to great companies built a consistent system within a clear restriction, but they gave people freedom and responsibility within a framework of that system. They hired disciplined people who didn't need to be managed, but then they managed the system, not the people. They focused on getting management and people who believed in the system and who would do anything and whatever it takes to make the system work. And they understood the fact that culture of discipline starts with hiring or getting the right people or disciplined people from the start, not by trying to discipline wrong people into the right action, and then after that or into the right behavior, and after that comes the discipline thought by confronting the brutal fact and following the Hitchcock concept, and then taking the discipline action. This order is important, but companies sometimes jump to discipline action, which could create a problem. Companies must always remember that discipline is not about action only. And 2, they hired people who go the extra length to fulfill the responsibility. In the good to great companies, it was found that people somehow extreme in fulfilling their responsibility to the extent that they became fanatics. 3, they build a culture, not a tyrant. It was found that discipline itself do not pass as a distinguishing variable, but the approach to discipline is the only factor that distinguishes good to great companies from comparison companies. On one hand, the good to great companies was found to have level 5 leaders who built a stable culture of discipline, and on the other hand, the unsustained comparison companies had level 4 leaders who personally disciplined the organization by force. It was found that in every unsustained comparison company, there was a great rise under the tyrannical disciplinarian, followed by equally strong decline when the disciplinarian stepped down, or when he or she became undisciplined and moved outside the 3 circles of the Hitchcock concept. Finally, the good to great companies, they fanatically adhered to the Hitchcock concept. The good to great companies all followed a simple mantra: anything that does not fit within the Hitchcock concept, we will not do. A lack of discipline to stay within the 3 circles found in nearly all the comparison companies. They either lacked the discipline to understand the 3 circles of their business, or lacked the discipline to stay within the 3 circles. Collins highlighted that fanatical consistency to the Hitchcock concept does not just concern the portfolio of strategic activities and decisions, but relate to the entire way the business is built and managed.